And we are back once again, live with you here at the Spin Cycle. Andrew Southwick and R.C. Williams. My goodness, another week. And again, one more day from as a hostage video for me, and then hopefully back in the in the studio. Again, at yet another location, undisclosed. But at any rate, we'll get back there. Actually quite an eventful weekend. We do have a few stories we're going to unfold for you here today, though we're unpacked for you here today. But a couple of quick headlines. One, President Trump came out and had an expletive-laden threat against Iran. I'm not covering that, at least right now, because that's par for the course for any weekend. I mean, RC, is there any? He was going to bomb the S out of anybody who got in their way. We were also told that we being America, we own Iran completely, or we own the Strait of Hormuz, and that everything is happening because of that. And eventually, the Strait of Hormuz, that we're going to own it outright. Okay.
Well, we'll file that. We'll file that along with Greenland, and then also Cuba, which is apparently next on the docket. So, yeah, we just own everything.
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay. All right. I mean, look. Hey, listen. If that's the way it's going down, great. I don't know that that the on again, off again, on again, off again, on again, off again, with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz is healthy. But I guess the musings of an 80-year-old guy. You know, I'm in my early 50s, and I have some get off my lawn Billy moments. I admit it, and it's okay.
I wonder. I should have checked the stock market, but I digress. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. I was suddenly reminded that maybe I should check the stock market. It was a completely disconnected thought.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Yes,
I get it. I feel like I should. Okay, so that's that. We'll see what happens. We'll get back on Iran stuff later on. Also, actually, some sad news. Actress Hayden Panettiere, at age 36, died Sunday morning. As of this production right now, we don't know what the cause of her death was. I'm trying to find a picture of her for you so that you can let me grab one here so people can see. But she was in Remember the Titans when she was a kid.
Yep.
Yeah, let me see if this will work. Yeah, let me see. Share this tab for you. I'll bring this on the screen. There you go. Yeah, she was in Remember the Titans when she was a kid. She was on Heroes. She was on the television show Nashville. And I guess she was traveling with her boyfriend and was discovered dead Sunday morning. So that's unfortunate. Very young. She just came out, I believe, with a memoir. And it was in the news just a few weeks ago, about sexual abuse that she endured early on in her acting career. And I mean, I wouldn't doubt that. A lot of Hollywood was built on sex and power, as we have seen uncovered over the past several years. So just that's too bad. Very young. And there does a lot of these. When I say died suddenly, I don't mean it in the pandemic way that we talk about, but there are a lot of just these young celebrities, I guess you would say, that all of a sudden are just out of the blue, they're gone. So anyway, but unfortunate to hear of her passing, and I know that she had quite a big fan base and following. I know her mostly from Remember the Titans and a couple of the Scream movies recently. But anyway, worth noting, and wanted to mention that as we get going. And certainly our prayers go out to her family. She has a daughter that she gave up custody to the daughter's father. So it's this is a person who lost their life, and it is unfortunate. All right, let's move on to the first story of the day. McDonald's is building Minority Report style dossiers to gauge spending habits of customers. Now, I should say that this was Reese Rogers, who is a journalist for the Condé Nast-owned Wired magazine, discovered an extensive digital profile after requesting the personal data that McDonald's had stored about him. The file revealed a Minority Report style trove of predictions about his future behavior, including that he would visit McDonald's 2.16 times over the next 6 weeks and spend an average of $13.49 per order, spending a total of $29.15 over that 6-week stretch. Now, The dossier listed a large Diet Coke as Rogers' most relevant product based on past behavior, followed by a spicy snack wrap and the Grinch McShaker fry, large size. Now, he apparently was a part of McDonald's loyalty program, but the massive file contained a detailed history of Rogers' transactions that offers McDonald's sent him and the loyalty points he accumulated, and it even kept track of every time he scanned a code while participating in the McDonald's Monopoly sweepstakes, along with the prize that he received. And again, here's a picture of Rogers here. Again, a reporter for Wired. Once again, this is a digital loyalty program, and McDonald's spokesperson noted that our customers continue to have privacy choices available to them and that you can opt out, so on and so forth. However, the fact that, go back to the top, there's a 515-page dossier on customers in the McDonald's loyalty program. I mean, my goodness, do they really need that much information? And by the way, do we really need any more proof that everything we do and everywhere we go is being tracked and our predicted behavior is being recorded?
I was going to say, yeah. So if you go back, we did an event in Southwest Florida at the beginning of the year. If you go to our YouTube page or you happen to watch the Watchman Action Network, it's Bet Cable Channel 40 in North Dakota, by the way, also streaming on YouTube and Rumble. We did a 2-hour session on a number of things with regard to threats and opportunities with AI. And one of them was surveillance pricing. Now, Instacart has gotten busted for this. And they actually kind of backed off. But what we said to people at that time is you don't realize how much information you give up by simply having a homing beacon on you everywhere you go. So to that point, Andrew, look, if you're part of a McDonald's loyalty program or any other loyalty program, the more data you give them, obviously, the more they're going to use. And of course, they're going to build dossiers on you because you are yield. Like, you're not a customer. They've got to figure, in that sense, they've got to figure out how much yield they can get from you and what your ROI is. And the better that they can predict it, the better position they are to get you offers at exactly the right time to maximize your spend. Here's the nasty kicker that goes with this, though. You don't need to be part of the loyalty program for McDonald's in order for this to happen. If you've been to one and you've got a phone and you pay with a credit card or a debit card, they've already got information on you. They're already building this dossier on you, because once they understand your movement and your habits and your patterns, all they do is layer that data one on top of the other. And then they've got this dossier on you and they can figure out what to do. And then they figure out how to get an ad to you at the ideal time. Now, if you're watching this and you're wondering, how does it seem that they always know what I'm going to do next or what I'm thinking? That's not by accident or by chance. That is a very interwoven system of data, multiple layers of it, all coming together with the proper AI to predict future behavior. Now, Andrew, since we have done Culture Crossroads, this show, we've been writing about this for years. We keep trying to tell people Minority Report as a movie wasn't science fiction. That's science fact. They were telling you back then what was coming. And a quick aside, precogs, the people who were in the tank there that were doing the predictions were called precogs, as in precognition, as in AI or advanced general intelligence. So welcome to the future. You're already living in it.
And if McDonald's can have a 515-page dossier on one individual, then obviously they have that on, you would have to assume, on every other individual that frequents their restaurant, if not more so. Now, that's just McDonald's. And right now, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say that is for marketing purposes so they can market to you directly. However, we know full well that overall this is another piece of the growing track and trace surveillance system here in America being put in place by both of our parties out of DC, being funded by you and I, the taxpayer. And here's the thing. Now you can understand, or this is one of the reasons why you can see why they want 1 gig, 2 gig, 50 gig data centers everywhere all over the fruited plain. They have to have somewhere to store all this information because they want to get it right down to how many Diet Cokes you'll buy at McDonald's in a given week. They want that much information about you.
Oh yeah.
And I can think of no good, altruistic, or innocent reason why they would want that information, if not to control your movement based on either behavior modification or coercion, as we saw in the pandemic.
You, Andrew, like I said earlier, you are simply yield, right? You're a customer technically, but they've got to figure out how much yield they can extract from you. What's the ROI look like on you as a consumer? Well, the way that they get that is they layer enough data about you and they take stuff that you would think is either innocuous or completely unrelated, and that factors in, right? So think about this just simply. Let's say that Darcy goes to McDonald's, which he does not because I actually eat food. That said, I digress. Let's say that I've also gone to the doctor recently, and being in my early 50s, there are things that happen to you as you age. If the tracking is working right and I'm layering my data correctly, then I understand propensity, right? Now, they haven't violated any HIPAA laws. They simply know that I've gone to the doctor, right? Because my triangulation is, I know I've gone to a doctor's office, but they also know how old I am. They know where I live, right? They have other history on me. So they can build a pattern to say, this guy, we're probably going to need to offer healthier options to him and other people in his data set. Let's figure out where else he goes, and let's see if we can time up an offer at just the right time to get him to either spend with us, spend more, or stop multiple times on a trip and choose McDonald's as the pick, so to speak. So they can very quickly ascertain and figure those things out without violating any laws. And ultimately, the end game first is how much yield they can get from you. Then the second one goes into the surveillance state that we talked about. That's obviously the next step. They want to control you.
Well, and look, and the way they'll do that is simple. They can see where you're going, where you're buying, what you're doing it, how often, so on and so forth. All they need to do is put one blockade at your bank account and say, listen, we noticed that you bought 6 Diet Cokes over the past 6 weeks. That's too many. We're going to put a block on you being able to purchase that particular product for a certain amount of time.
Good luck.
Good luck, or whatever it might be. That's, friends. We're telling you now. We're telling you now, and this is also one of the reasons why we call out the right, even though we would be considered part of the political right. We are conservative because this is happening on Republican watch. Now, McDonald's is a private company, and you can get into privacy laws and other things, but the problem is, on the Republican watch, we're seeing, again, the proliferation of these data centers, the getting into bed with big tech, Palantir getting a ton of government contracts, Anthropic, all these others. And, so we see our side giving more infrastructure to this, which later on it's going to be used against us once enough power swings into the right places and they feel they can get away with it. We're just putting this out, and hopefully people will say enough is enough. And if we won't vote out the leaders who are doing this, I don't know. I guess we'll have that. But speaking of voting, Democrats, this is from Breitbart. Democrats, by 58%, hold a positive view of socialism over capitalism. Yes, there's the smiling Mom Donnie. More than half of Democrats. The poll, which surveyed 2,287 adults in the United States between August 12th and 14th, found there's a 26-point difference between Democrats' positive views on socialism and capitalism. Listen to these numbers. Among Democrats, 58%, I'll try to make this a little larger for you, 58% were found to have a positive view of socialism, while 32% have a positive view of capitalism. The poll also found that 18% of Democrats have a negative view of socialism, while 50% a negative view of capitalism, and 24% have no opinion. Here is the graphic posted by the America X account. That's what I was looking for. America account on X. There we go. But you can see there, positive, negative, no opinion. That screen grab from Face the Nation. RC, my question to you, do you think, now, again, I've said, and we're going to bring it up in the next story too, that you wouldn't have to worry about, socialism wouldn't be on the rise as much as it is if the Republicans would govern the way they campaign. But the Republicans are doing what they do and stabbing their own base in the back. And then they're coming out and telling us, hey, get used to higher prices. We've seen that over and over again. They're telling us that if we don't want to spend a little bit more, that we're not patriotic, on and on and on. We're being, our younger voters are being browbeaten because they won't cook burritos at home. This is the Republican pitch going into the midterms. And then we're going to have a weird pre-midterm convention hosted by the Republican Party to, I guess, gin up excitement and talk about socialism again and why we got to beware the socialists. But they wouldn't be getting this much traction, and the Republicans, I don't think, would be worried about it if the Republicans themselves would present a different vision for America other than being Democrat light or now just being flat out Democrats in terms of their policies domestically.
Socialismo, as Hugo Chavez would say. But isn't it interesting? You're nail on the head, man. I mean, think about it. If things were being governed correctly and there was fiscal responsibility and Congress and the different branches actually did the job that we sent them to do, this wouldn't be an issue. Be like, those people are crazy. We're not. Even if times are tough, listen, here's what's happening. Here's how we're going to work ourselves out of this. And we're going to start by looking at all the bloat and getting rid of that. So I think, Andrew, that people would have taken much better to the message that I just gave you instead of the one that we're getting now. Because, I mean, who in their right mind likes to hear, well, you know what? You should just pay more. And if you don't, you're not patriotic. It's like, no, stupid. The founders of the country, in particular with tax, said that you should pay as little as legally possible. That is your obligation, in case you forgot where once you came. But I digress. This doesn't surprise me in the least. Andrew, this is also why we've said on this show, Culture Crossroads, Watchman Brief, that we are likely at the end of the traditional two-party cycle. You've probably seen your last one without a meaningful option that is well-funded, focused, and starts winning seats at some level for something and then builds traction, just like the Whig Party did, because people are so at the end of their rope and they're so sick of the polarization on either side and just basically the fecklessness or ineffectiveness of anything other than cook burritos at home, spend more or you're not patriotic, and get used to high prices. In a time where the focus isn't domestic, that's the last thing that citizens actually want to hear. What they want to hear is what you're going to do about your part, because apparently you want them to do your part too, Uncle Sugar. That doesn't work well for people.
Well, when you're looking at it now, we have a $40 trillion debt, and there are some projections now saying that just in a matter of 2 to 3 years, that we get near $50 trillion in debt. I mean, my goodness. And by the way, socialism will communism blows that out of the water as well, by the way. So it's not like, that's
total failure. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, though, do you think that part of it, too, because one of the numbers in there was that 50% of Democrats, those polled in the survey, those surveyed, 50% had a negative view of capitalism. How much of this is the constant demonization of capitalism? And then, of course, the Republicans showing you exactly the worst kinds of capitalism. See Trump's Truth Social membership for $100,000. But anyway, how much of it is just the constant drumbeat of and negative reinforcement? Capitalism is bad. Capitalism responsible for everything evil. And then now looking for another system as well, and sort of the coming together of those forces at a fortuitous time.
Well, it gets the fuel it needs, Andrew, to be browbeaten, because what people are seeing is crony capitalism. That is the easiest punching bag in the world, right? Look at the guys who are in control, enriching themselves, making it look like it's actual capitalism. Meanwhile, they're just kind of got the Hoover out and they're sucking up everything and just kind of doing whatever they want. Of course, people are going to look at that and say, well, if that's capitalism, I most certainly don't want any of that, because it sure doesn't seem like I have the opportunity to pull myself up by my bootstraps and do that too. Like, I don't have an opportunity for upward mobility. So if that's capitalism, why would I want any of that? Maybe I'll try this thing over here. Now, I've heard some bad stuff about socialism and communism, but it sure sounds like they're at least going to distribute all that money that crony capitalists have taken back to the people. So maybe I at least have a shot at something close to the American dream. Of course, not realizing the Trojan horse that's inside. But conservatives, Republicans have made it very easy to make capitalism a punching bag because of the way that it's portrayed.
And here is the Republican case against socialism in one race. Let me share this. Also from Breitbart, Ken Paxton says if we lose Texas, the Senate's gone. Now he is running right now for Senate against Democrat James Tallarico, who I haven't given much coverage to Tallarico. He is a heretic in terms of his theology. God is non-binary and all this other nonsense. He's an absolute progressive. Yeah. Anyway, but here is his pitch. Paxton told Breitbart News political editor Bradley Jay that he expected a difficult summer after emerging from a 3-month runoff that Tallarico didn't have to go through, saying Tallarico had the ability to raise money for 3 months that I didn't have. Oh, poor baby. I started June 1 with basically $0, says Paxton, while Tallarico, quote, had just raised $30 million, which Paxton said came largely from California and New York, probably. Paxton said his campaign had spent the summer raising money after beginning June with essentially no funds. Jay notes that the Democrats had pointed to polling showing Tallarico performing competitively, and that Breitbart News had analyzed polling on August 4th found Tallarico had not reached a winning margin, while the uncommitted voters were voters who traditionally vote Republican. Paxton said he was encouraged by what he had seen. This is when people start coming back from vacations. I've never seen more excitement, blah, blah, blah. So I don't have enough money. I'm worried about this radical socialist. But again, none of this is are his platforms. Paxton said he is accusing Tallarico of trying to deceive voters right now and, quote, running from all these radical positions that he voted on. He cited issues involving girls' sports, gender transition, state income tax, DEI policies in schools before characterizing Tallarico as really a radical socialist. Once again, I predicted that the Republicans are going to run against socialism, and all their message is going to be socialism bad, Republican good, because they can't run on their economic record, they can't run on their foreign policy record, they can't run on healthcare or any of this other stuff. They're gonna have Fauci. They're gonna drag Fauci out. Let's play the hits again and see if we can get some critical mass that way. But because they can't run on the things that you and I feel every day, because those are negative. And so now all they can say is, well, socialism is bad. The problem is they've lost the plot. They haven't messaged why socialism is bad and why their vision of capitalism is good, because their version of capitalism, as we just talked about, is crony. But my friends, in that Ken Paxton article, this is the Republican message going into the midterms. This is what they're going to talk about just in more celebratory and theatrical terms at the big convention coming up, midterm convention coming up. It's all smoke and mirrors. None of it is actually what we would like to see as conservatives, because apparently they're unwilling to do it. I can't come to any other conclusion, and that will cost them.
So Andrew, I know Ken personally, and Juliana and I, and this conversation came up early on when he was in the primary. I said, look, you can beat Cornyn. I don't think it's a big deal. Like, you can. You're probably going to need Trump's endorsement, but you could realistically beat John Cornyn. The challenge you're going to have is in the general, because there's a lot there. I mean, we haven't talked about the moral or ethical issues that are going on. People can look those up for themselves. A.G. Paxton doesn't seem to think that's that big of an issue or should be put out there. But then again, it's all public and you continue to do it. So obviously that's going to happen. This thing with socialism bad, Republican good will only play as long as people buy into that. Now, Paxton went through a pretty brutal primary against John Cornyn, and the challenge for him, something else that we had pointed out early on, is how is the money going to coalesce from the Republican Party around a candidate who basically stabbed the establishment in the heart with a dagger and then said, now save me. I stabbed you in the heart, now save me. Tough road to hoe. Do I think that some resources will eventually coalesce around him? Yeah, I think so. Do I think Ken Paxton can win in November? Yeah, I think he can eke one out, but he's got to be careful here position-wise, because I think that the Democrats have basically triangulated a lot of this stuff and kind of knew how the attack was going to come, which is why they're positioning Tallarico the way that they are. And they're never afraid of a huge money dump at just the right time on just the right issue to spur the proper emotional choice in people. And let's be honest, and I'll stop. There are still a lot of moderates that are sore at the way that primary went down in Texas and will either A, decide not to vote or leave it blank, or do something else, which I hope they don't. But that said, I mean, those things run deep. Can Ken Paxton win? Yeah, sure. I don't know that this is the right way to go at it. But that said, this season for Republicans and even for conservatism as a whole is just rough. And I'm wondering if in some of these instances, we really just need a good smack back into reality.
It's really difficult because I think I'll say this on behalf of Republicans or in defense of Republicans. I think many of them want to campaign and articulate some of the things that you and I are talking about. But the leadership of the party, which is not just Donald Trump, it's others in that circle, the leadership of the party doesn't want that. They don't want the kind of Ron DeSantis conservatism that turned Florida deep red. They want Byron Donalds conservatism. They want Greg Abbott conservatism. And by the way, Greg Abbott's reign as governor in Texas has made that a purple state. It went from deep red, don't mess with Texas, to purple. What do you think they want to do with Florida too? Mm-hmm. And by the way, you get Florida and Texas purple trending toward light blue. You've got Democrat control, progressive control, or let's face it, communist control of the country for a good couple of election cycles until we get it back. And for the life of me, I can't understand everything is a value proposition. Why would you destroy your own base? Why would you insult your own base? Unless the value for doing that was greater than the loyalty of your own base. You know what I mean? Everybody, it's Milton Friedman's, economics, right? The producer of a product will sell it to a distributor, and he gets a profit from the distributor. Mm-hmm. The distributor then sells it to the store, and the distributor gets a product from the store. The store sells it to you. You give them money, but because you are giving that money, that product is worth more to you than the money you're giving. So everybody is getting more for their dollar, effectively. The same is true in politics, right? These people don't give up power. These people don't give up, they don't give up power. They don't give up money. So if they're going to undercut everything they've ever messaged and done, if they're going to say, hey, we don't need that particular voter group, I've never heard before this particular brand of republicanism, I've never heard anyone say, we don't need those votes. Anyone, ever. But now they do. They don't need their pro-life vote. They don't need this vote. They don't need that vote. Okay, in some cases, they're going to get their wish. But I can't imagine what would be more valuable to them than that. But apparently something is. And I think that pressure is what is causing a lot of these Republicans, maybe like a Paxton, I don't know his specific position, but I'm using that as an example. Maybe like Paxton, not being able to hit hard at some of the things they would, because the problem is the GOP are the ones doing those things right now. They'd be running against their own party.
They didn't think they needed our vote in August of 2024 either, when the RNC changed the party's position on abortion. But boy, how do those chickens come home to roost, right? I don't think people forget, Andrew. And, usually when these things happen, people make their voices heard at the absolute worst time. And I agree with you. I don't know what brand of republicanism or conservatism this is, but it feels like we're in a reality show. Pun intended. Well, yeah. It feels like we're in a reality show.
We have a reality star as president. No kidding.
Yeah, I mean, that's taxing and tiring on people. People wear out from that stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. And they're just at the end of their rope. I mean, I guess my response to people, just generally speaking, is what do you expect? What else would you expect from this attrition? Now, as we do the show today, tomorrow is primary day here in the state of Florida. Do you know what the turnout is in the state, Andrew, for early voting? 11%, maybe 12%. As we said, you tick off enough people, and they'll just be like, listen, whatever. I don't even care. Just go away. Nobody likes you. And it's funny. I find myself saying that. I'm like, I cannot wait until August 19th. I just cannot wait for this to be over, because it becomes so taxing and it's so fake and it's so phony. And honestly, Andrew, I think people are at that point, which is why you get such low turnout numbers. Oh, you need to turn out for the primaries and the midterms. Yeah, no, people are basically telling you it does not matter whether I do or I don't. And I'm not saying that you should, by the way. You should. You should exercise your constitutional right to vote. Absolutely, 100% you should. But people are so frustrated that they're just like, no.
And in this particular environment, we also should, we, the people, need to actually do a little more effort than just read a headline and actually read about candidates and vote for the best one, and not just the one that the Democrats and the Republicans burp up every couple of years. You know, because, you know, I mean, that's how we're supposed to do it. But they figured out that, yeah, if they disenfranchise enough of us, if they get us enough of us on the sidelines, the hardcore ones will come out. And they know that a good portion of those hardcore, because you're going to see a lot of boomer vote there, and boomers vote alphabet style. You know, capital R, we got to go capital R. And I do wonder, you know, if after these primaries, does the majority, I mean, the majority of the electorate will probably coalesce behind the Republican, because eventually they'll get caught up in the theater of socialism bad, Republican good, even though it's the uniparty that's bringing all of this stuff in no matter what. We're not thinking straight. One way we can tell them to stop it is by voting somebody else in, and somebody else that they don't endorse. But, you know, who knows if we'll do that. Hopefully we will. We're just up on time. RC, did I forget to bring up anything that you wanted to bring up on today's edition?
No, my friend, we said a mouthful, and I think we've given people some things to look at and think about in their lives, and to ask really hard questions. If I could share anything in closing, is get comfortable with asking the really tough questions, whether it's to a public servant or to your friends or to your family or even to yourself. Get comfortable with asking the tough questions, because we're going to need you to do that in mass if there's any chance of turning the ship around.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we're going to see. Yeah, Florida primaries tomorrow. That's going to be a big one. And I really think that I think Florida is the biggest bellwether for how freedom is doing in America in this particular cycle. And that starts tomorrow. And it does go through, I think, the general as well, the gubernatorial general in Florida. Because it's, you know, that maybe Iowa. I think they've got a good governor candidate going from the Republicans, I think. But there very few that are willing to stand up against the establishment for what liberty and freedom actually is. So we're going to see how well that works. And also, we will find out, if we get the establishment governor in Florida, how quickly you can go from deep red to light purple in just about light speed to Endor. All right. RC, once again, remind everybody where they can see us, find us, watch us, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so for Watchmen Action, all things start at Watchmen, that's plural, watchmen action.org. All of our social medias are Watchmen Action. You can also watch The Spin Cycle weeknights, 9:30 Eastern on the Watchmen Action Network, 24/7 on Beck Cable, Channel 40 in North Dakota, and streaming on YouTube and Rumble and X. All over the world, 9:30 weeknights for The Spin Cycle. Culture Crossroads, by the way, airs on the network Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, so don't miss those. And then for all things Andrew Southwick, go to Culture Crossroads 316 on YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe. Check out Spin Cycle, Culture Crossroads, and his incredible monologues that we encourage him each and every day to do as a standalone thing, and you should do the same.
You know, it's reminding me about those monologues, and I do need to do more of them. But I've been in these hidden bunkers for like 3 weeks, man. When I come out of these, I can do a few more. All right. All right, that's going to do it for the Spin Cycle today. For RC Williams, I'm Andrew Southwick. We'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out with us.